We have had so much negativity and backlash deciding to go back to church. And like, I didn't even want to talk about this because I didn't want to give it any oxygen. And honestly, there's been so many beautiful elements of going back to church that like we really wanted to focus on that. We really have been on a high and on cloud nine since we decided to go back. However, I would be leaving out a huge part of the process if I didn't talk about some of the negativity that we've experienced, because I think this is so common of people that are going to have a big timeline shift, or they're going to make a huge adjustment for the better in their life, or they're moving into a new avenue or a new arena that's like really good for them, but really scary at the same time and is like in the unknown. You are going to experience backlash. So when we first decided to go back to church, we were really, really scared to tell our family and close friends because we felt like there's going to be judgment. We're not going to be accepted. People are going to like be like, how could you even go back after everything you said, everything that you went through, having your records removed, creating videos and content on, you know, how mad you were at the church. Like now you're going to go back, like how lame. Okay. But it has actually been quite the contrary. People have been more than loving, more than kind. They have reached out. They have tried to make us feel welcome. They have gone the extra mile. They have like nurtured our faith back. I would honestly say that the friends that reached out to me and like were consistent with me throughout my time as an ex-Mormon and throughout my time after my divorce, like constantly trying to keep in contact, they were the reasons why, a huge reason why we decided to go back to church. Because the people that I left the church with that were my ex-Mormon party friends did the opposite. They were horrible. They were awful. They exhibited really toxic, mean qualities. And so then I could juxtapose that behavior based on the people that I had always known that were my friends that were still in the church, and they were kind, they were loving, they were never judgmental, they were never harsh to me, they were always kind. By their fruits ye shall know them. And obviously something was good with the LDS folks because they were kind no matter what. They never actually judged me. It was the people that left the church that did that. Okay, so here's where there has been negativity and backlash. Like, I'm just going to be real here, and I'm going to try to be really, really sensitive because this is involving family. So like basically when we left the church, the way that it went down was I was just having like a personal crisis. I was having a crisis. You could call it a midlife crisis, but that's just so cliche and like vague. Basically, I had been in a marriage for a very long time that just like I couldn't be in anymore. Like my soul was screaming at me to get out of it. I had graduated. We had tried everything. We had tried to hold on after a breakdown 10 years in, and it was like we had been married for about 20 plus years, and I was just like, I knew in my soul that I needed to get out, but I did not have the strength and fortitude to do it. And I think it was like in some weird cosmic esoteric way, it was like my future self's way of getting me out of that marriage, because in order to get out of the marriage, I had to leave the church. I also had a lot of problems with the church doctrine. I had a lot of problems with the church doctrine for like 10 years. I'm not going to lie. But I would say like the overarching reason why I needed to leave the church was because I needed to have an awakening. And I stand behind that. Like I was telling my husband in the spa this morning, like I would go back and do everything all over again. I would go through this 7 years of not being in the church. I would have my records removed. I would go through the experiences that I went through during that 7 years in the secular world, because I needed to do that to fully actualize myself, to have my life experience, to come back full circle. I would have never come back had I not gone through that. So like when people come up to me and they're like, my sister-in-law has left, or like my son has left, and I don't know what to tell them, and they're out here in the world, or like my daughter's angry at the church. I'm like, listen, let them have that. Let them be in that, because some people have to go through that. Some people, that is how they learn. There's a lot of emphasis in the church on like following the doctrine, following the prophet, and then you'll never go astray, and then you'll never have any like hard experiences from sin. But some people, a lot of people, come to this earth to experience life, to get out there in the streets and experience life on all levels and understand that they make the choice to come back at the end of the day, because it makes them happy, because there's direction in it, because it feels like home. I had to go through everything I went through 7 years ago, for the last 7 years, to like come back around full circle and be like, I'm happier in the church. It's my tribe. It's my ancestry. I crave nice people. I crave goodness. And I had to go out into the world and experience the ugliness of it all to truly like recognize what I had in the church. Doesn't mean my testimony is perfect. Doesn't mean that I have a testimony of everything. Doesn't mean that I'm not just a little fledgling out here. I am. But I had to go full circle to not only recognize the value in the church and like what I missed, but also to find myself. And now I'm coming into the church way more confident, way more powerful. I found my voice. I extricated myself from that long relationship that wasn't meant for me. And I'm now in my most powerful, abundant, actualized position in my life. And I could never have found myself had I not left. That's just my journey. That doesn't mean everybody has to do that. I love people that don't. It's really beautiful when somebody can stay in a church tradition and be fully like satisfied and happy and like fulfilled in it and stay in it their whole life. Like, how beautiful is that? But when I left 7-8 years ago, it was like, I felt really, really opinionated about it and forceful about it. I was like, we need to leave. We need to leave the church. There were a lot of reasons I had around that. Like, number one, I felt like my kids needed the space to just grow and be themselves. I felt like there was such a narrow checklisty way of kids growing up in the church, and I still kind of feel that way if I'm being honest. And I wanted my kids to have the freedom to like find themselves and live a life of their choosing. And that is a value that I still hold very dear. I also felt like at first I told them, look, I'm leaving, but you guys don't need to leave. Like, I'll support you if you want to stay in the church. My son was like almost ready to go out on a mission. He was like 18, 19 when we left. And I was like, listen, I will support you if you want to stay in. Just for me, and my husband at the time was also in agreement with me. Like, we're leaving. And my kids both decided to leave as well. So over the 7 years that we've been out, my kids have been able to forge their own path. My older kids have been able to find their own way, and they've grown into amazing humans. And I'm proud of my kids. I'm so proud of my kids. And I'm proud of the steps they've taken and the bravery that they've had going out into the secular world and doing it on their own and finding their own faith traditions. And like, they're amazing people, but you know, they still hold some of the really opinionated ideas about the church, as well as like they're hearing a lot of things from a lot of outside factors about, you know, us and like which church we should be going to, which again, I'm going to point out is weird. Like, we're allowed to go to whatever church we want. And I'm a grown-ass woman out here. I'm allowed to make those decisions. So anybody having opinions about that, like, is just weird to me. Like, get a life. Like, honestly, stop having opinions about what church I'm going to. Like, truly, don't you have anything else to like worry about in your own life? So there's a lot of like outside noise, which to me is so crazy now and wild to wrap my mind around. That when I left the church, I was like, we need to get out of the church and it's horrible and it's bad. And meanwhile, the church members are just like choosing which church they want to go to. And I'm the one having this closed-minded, judgmental opinion about the Mormons and like, you know, they need to stop. And now looking back, I'm like, wow, that was so hypocritical that I was out here like so mad at the Mormons and like the missionaries and like people trying to like, you know, reactivate my kids, when like really they were just trying to love and like include us in a tribe, and I'm like pushing them away. And so when I'm getting this backlash now from like family members that have a hard time with me going back to church, I'm just like, really? Like, you have such a hard time with me choosing to go be a better person and to have more hope in my life. Like, truly live and let live. And these are the same people that are going to profess this, like, get off my back and let me live the way I want to live. So why don't you let people that want to go to church and want to be involved with different faith traditions do that without your opinion and your judgment?